Thank you, Michael. Thank you, PC, caucus leader, members of the media, but more importantly, you people of South Africa, specifically the residents of the 3 metros in Gauteng. I think just to really give you a brief background so that I think you have an idea, because I think I found it really very interesting that when I made an announcement to resign, the entire media was there. And half of the media people, 2 years later, I asked them what's the reason for my resignation. They had no knowledge. So I think let me take that opportunity to remind you so that I think you've gotten some understanding. As you are aware, fellow South Africans, I became the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg on the 22nd of August 2016. Leaving my business to really serve my country, use my privileged position to play that role. At the time, I was playing this role on a ticket of a DA of Democratic Alliance ticket. I served fellow South Africans for 3 years, unfortunately having to resign on the 21st of October 2019, but leaving office at the end of November to allow a smooth transition. If you can remember, I resigned on the 21st, but then DA then requested me to ensure that I don't, obviously, I think, compromise the administration. With my intention at the time, I wanted to leave immediately because I was very angry when someone wants to step you at the back. But I think really being sensitive to my country, I then said, no, I'm happy to really stay another month to really allow them to run the process of getting my replacement. As you are aware, at the time, just to remind you, I was running a 7-way coalition government constructed by the DA leadership, not by me, because I wasn't on the DA leadership position at the time, with the EFF voting with us on an issue-by-issue basis. I'm sure you guys remember they had 30 councillors who were voting with us on an issue-by-issue basis. And lucky enough, if you look at the period as a mayor of the city of Johannesburg coalition became the most stable coalition in the country. Some of the major findings during this 3-year tenure as a mayor, I discovered senior management in the city being run by ANC deployees. 170 billion rands of infrastructure backlog. Remember, as soon as I took over, I did a study so that I have an understanding. I knew the city, it was in decay, but at the end of the day, I did not obviously know the extent. And the second week of my position as a mayor, conducted a study to see the infrastructure backlog. 170 billion rands. I remember I called the press conference to really share with you, and that document is still there that you can demonstrate where the breakdown of this 170 billion rands. Inherited a city with over 300,000 housing backlog, over 300,000 backlog, 180 informal settlements, squatter camps. We call them informal settlements because we're trying to be politically correct, because some of these informal settlements, the squatter camps, I cannot for the life of me see and understand why the Human Rights Commission is allowing our fellow South Africans live in those conditions. The city of Johannesburg hijacked buildings. People in some of the suburbs, in the south of Johannesburg, on the west of Johannesburg, being taken over, and sometimes by illegal foreign nationals. And I raised this matter to say, no, this is not going to continue under my watch. We will deal with this issue of hijacked buildings and take them back, and allow the private sector to build affordable accommodation for people, create employment, and turn Johannesburg into a construction site. You remember on the 1st of December 2016, during the days when I was bringing out an update to the residents of 100 days in office, I raised this issue of my commitment to turn the city of Johannesburg into a construction site. unfortunately also discovered in the 3 years, 35 billion rands of fraud and corruption cases. Uncovered in 3 years, 35 billion rands of fraud and corruption. Services in poor communities were almost non-existent. And that's really what obviously created conflict between the DA and I when I committed this government, my government at the time, to be a pro-poor government. And I was not it was not an issue that was negotiable to me. I committed that coalition government that I was running, that is going to really be a pro-poor the government. What are the intervention measures instituted? Immediately, because of the administration being inhabited by cadres, some of them were in positions, not because of what they knew. They were in positions because of who they knew. I said, this cannot. So we immediately instituted a skills audit to ensure that we can have the right people in the right position. Because of the high levels of corruption, we established what is today in the city of Johannesburg called Group Forensic and Investigation Services to help investigate cases of fraud and corruption, because I was just inundated from day one when I moved into office, people bringing one file after the other of fraud and corruption. Some of them as clear as daylight as to why the city was not doing anything about this. We immediately embarked on a project of reclaiming the inner city from the hijackers called the Inner City Rejuvenation project, which I'm sure all of you are aware. By the time I had left, we had already identified over 600 buildings, 154 of them already through council given to the private sector to the value of investment of 32 billion rands, creating permanent 24,000 jobs, creating housing units 14,000. Unfortunately, I had to leave before the implementation of this exercise. We declared war against illegal foreigners in our city. And I remember after the 1st of December 2016, when I raised this issue of illegal foreigners, that's when everyone, or majority of South Africans, declared war against me, calling me xenophobic, including actually taking me to the South African Human Rights Commission. I'm sure you remember that very well. But fortunately enough, I had the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa on my side, because what I was ventilating was contained in our Constitution, that this country was built at the back of migrants, and we want people of the world to continue coming to our country, but they must come here legally, and when they're here, they must respect our laws. Never really called people to say, Abahambe. No. I said, let's really hold the Home Affairs accountable, because this mess is created by corruption and ineptitude within the Department of Home Affairs. We embarked on a massive improvement of revenue collection in the city, so that the city can get more revenues to be able to provide services. And I'm sure you guys are aware, I made my report available. It is still available for you as members of the media. If you want that report of my closing when I left, to really see how revenue collection in the city of Johannesburg improved, drastically improved. We were like literally on a month-to-month basis hitting all-time record in terms of revenue collection. And that was also at the same time allowing us to provide services to our people. We fought, obviously I don't believe that we managed to stop corruption completely, but fighting corruption assisted us to really get more revenue. By the time I left, our expenditure on infrastructure moved from, I think, 52% when we took over from the ANC in 2016. By the time I left, infrastructure in the city of Johannesburg was sitting at 71%. As I said earlier on, we committed and unapologetically my administration to a pro-poor agenda. And this didn't sit well with the DA, but I did not really care. I did not go into politics to serve special interest. I was in government to serve people of our country, particularly the poor and the vulnerable. And it's a position I will never give up on. I don't want, as a South African, to live side by side with inequality. Inequality created by men over many years of colonialism, over many years of national party apartheid government, over 30 years of ANC mismanagement and corruption. So our people are not poor because they want to be poor. They are poor today. Inequality in South Africa is the highest because men created this inequality. And for us to address this inequality, we need government intervention. We are not going to go to church to ask God to give us the wisdom to address the question of inequality. We need government intervention. Just to remind you, as when I was the mayor, probably the first mayor or the only mayor where I fired 3 DA MMCs for fraud and corruption from my executive team, without the support of the DA. Every time I wanted to fire someone, they would object and ask me to delay. And I would always say to them, please, colleagues, this is not a political party matter. I'm just saying, informing you, these people are going. And I did fire three of them. And I was really quite surprised that the party that claims to be fighting ANC corruption, but after I fired them without their permission, kept them as councillors. So you can imagine the contradiction. You can imagine as a mayor, I ran at the caucus, and because obviously I had no powers to fire councillors, they leave them as councillors. And this is the very same party that's fighting ANC corruption. So that obviously led to my resignation when obviously it came to my attention that they were planning to really have a motion of no confidence against me. And as I've indicated during my resignation speech, I'm not the kind of person to really be pushed around by anyone. If I move because I do it for the right reasons. So unfortunately, my relationship with the DAs soured almost immediately after taking office. I was accused of spending their residents' funds with people who don't pay their taxes and don't vote for the DA. They developed a campaign to position me as an EFF mayor. Some of you are aware, radio station, during the 2021 elections, they spent a fortune asking residents not to vote for me because I'm an EFF mayor. Now you can imagine Herman Mashaba, capitalist, being associated with the EFF. The reason why I was called the EFF, because I was determined and no one was going to stop me from providing services to poor communities. This is not an EFF resolve or the only thing that the EFF can do. Some of us are equally concerned, and we are going to do it, and there's a reason why we're doing this transaction right now. Against some of the utterances that we've made, we live in a new era where we realize that we've got to really do something. Now, there's now deal with development since the 2021 local governments. Due to my experience with the ANC, I committed ActionSA never to work with the ANC. I'm old enough where I lived 34 years of my life under an evil system of apartheid. So I grew up with majority or most of the people in the ANC as a businessman or as a student. So I knew them. That's why when I started engaging them about some of the things after the New South Africa to say, guys, this is unacceptable. But they continued until where we reached, some of us reached a stage to say, look, if you know you can't change them, then you can't really work with them. So then obviously started, as I've indicated, working with the DA, including becoming their mayor. So basically what we've now come to really accept as a fact, we live in a totally different world. Immediately after the 2024 elections, Senate had a 2-day strat session on the 3rd and the 4th of June, and I think we gave you a report back of that Senate meeting, where we committed to review and consult our structures. And during the period of the engagement with our structures, it really emerged an opportunity emerged where our structures said, guys, please, we cannot really let the residents of these 3 metros down because of our own personal beliefs and values. I think we all entered politics to save society. The city of Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni, very unstable. As ActionSA, we deserve to really get a speaker in Tshwane, and our partners was not really helping us in this regard. So we then took a decision that we will enter. When ANC contacted us after obviously getting responses and reactions from our partner, our structures, to engage the ANC. And in our proposal to the ANC, we said we are happy to engage. We've listened to our people. We live in a new world, and we don't want to really be the one. I don't want one day to say to my grandchildren, when the city of Johannesburg has collapsed, that I was responsible. I kept my own personal beliefs or values, put it as a priority. So we then obviously called the Senate meeting over the weekend, where I gave them the proposal, which I gave to the ANC. Because when I met with the ANC, first I sent to Michael and Funzi to engage them, and I then decided to take over the negotiations. Called them to my house. I said, guys, I'm not here to play. I've listened to our people, our structures. I'm very fully aware of the state of these metros, that they're not what South Africans would want them to really be. And ActionSA, with our numbers, we're the only party that can actually serve the position. Then obviously gave them our proposal. We agreed now with the ANC, and I'm pleased with this arrangement that we accepted in good faith, that we'll start with the city of Johannesburg with immediate effect. And we allow ANC and the current structures to run the executive. ActionSA don't want anything to do with the executive. ActionSA to take over the legislature, with some of the committees to be allocated to them to accommodate their current partners. Because obviously they've got a broad church of other smaller parties. We said, for us it's not about position. We are happy to really give you some of the positions so that you can accommodate some of the smaller parties who are there with you since 2021. But we'll take the key ones in this arrangement. Key one, for an example, the speaker position. So ActionSA is going to take over the speaker, and the ANC and their partners can take the executive, which you can imagine it now gives us an opportunity as an effective, constructive opposition with the real powers to hold the ANC accountable. And as Michael has already indicated, we wanted the removal of the current mayor. There's just no way we can honestly, in a good state, said to our residents that we are happy with the current mayor. So we said to the ANC, you guys, you headed this mayor to play a role that This job is way beyond him. So please, the only way we are prepared to really support you, we need the removal of this mayor. As Michael has also indicated, including our caucus leader, we want the withdrawal of this 200 rands electricity charge by City Power. Completely unfair. There's money that City Power can collect from illegal connections and so forth. Go aggressive. Why then punish law-abiding citizens? So we said this must obviously be withdrawn. We also made it clear to them, and I think I'm really pleased that the Premier is fully behind this, because the previous mayor, when I was the mayor, never gave the support to the inner city rejuvenation plan for provision of affordable housing for South Africans. So we are going to embark on a massive program for the inner city rejuvenation, where we reignite this program so that over 300,000 housing backlog, because imagine when I took over in 2016, we're sitting at 300,000. I don't know what the number is, but without any doubt, must be much worse. So the only way we're going to address this, we are not going to wait for national government to provide housing, RDP housing. We want our people to live in the city, close to where they work. And we will ensure that we protect them. We are unapologetically going to declare war against criminality in the city, including illegal immigration. Now, working with the province, with South African Police Services, with JNPD, you are going to see the acceleration of dealing with illegal immigration. Those who are in our country illegally, those who are in our country committing crime, we are going to deal with them. Whether you're South African or a foreign national, we are going to deal with you. We are going to expedite the question of the management of illegal trade in our city. We cannot accept that the businesses in our communities are run by people who, in the first place, we don't know who they are, how they came into this country, how they brought money into this country. Did this money come through mattresses or sofas, and they send them through mattresses and sofas? That is going to come to an end. We have to commit in ensuring that we respect the bylaws of this country. Everyone running business in this country must be registered with the South African Revenue Services. So we're going to have special units with JMPD working with South African Police Services to ensure that the bylaws of this country are protected. Businesses cannot run by people who are in our country illegally. So we want the businesses in our communities to run by our own people, because they will pay taxes, they will employ our people. And I think the Premier has given us a commitment in that regard. Importantly, something that Michael raised, we are not a part of this they call it the government of national unity, or whatever they call it. We're not part of that. We will vote and support the ANC on an executive level, on an issue-by-issue basis. And the reason why it's important not to really have an agreement, once bitten, twice shy. You remember, is it October last year, when some of the parties who are in government today got us to sign agreements in front of you, the nation, and the world. But when they were in breach of those agreements, they didn't give a damn. So that says to us, you sign an agreement with political parties in this country, they don't mean anything. They're not worth the paper it's written on. So it must be about our values, what we stand for. So we said to the Premier and the Gauteng team and the ANC to say, we are not interested in having a formal agreement. You can take our word that we will support you as long as you accept that we will hold you accountable. You do something stupid, you must understand there will be consequences. But at the same time, this is not just a one-way stream. Because as a ActionSA, we are not saying we are perfect. We're human beings. the people we are going to deploy in these positions, in the event they do anything stupid, please hold us accountable as well. So we don't need to really have an agreement. We will vote with you and support you on an issue-by-issue basis. As I indicated to you, that we've taken a decision to start with Johannesburg, put it, seal it, and to make it run. And within the next 2 weeks or so, we will then, ANC right now busy with their discussions on Ekurhuleni, and hopefully, based on the negotiations with Ekurhuleni, it will follow the same principle as Michael and I have already outlined. And as when it relates to the city of Tshwane, the city of Tshwane, as you are aware, ActionSA is supposed to have had a speaker, but our coalition partner let us down, sabotaged the voting process, where the votes were declared null and void by the IEC. We ended up with a one party holding that position. We tried through the courts. We've been waiting now, 18 months or so? And our partner is happy with this arrangement. So we then said to the ANC, you've got to remove that speaker. You've got to remove that speaker so that ActionSA can take over that speaker so that we can hold you accountable. Because there are issues in Tshwane that we cannot really hide. And we are not going to hide as ActionSA. To give you an example, we are not really pleased. Amanskraal, where I was born and raised, used to drink water some days when I was in high school, when I did not have money from my gambling over the weekend. I'll drink water for the whole day because I used to leave home at 6:30, be home at 5:30 in the afternoon. If I was not successful in playing dice over the weekend, the only thing I will survive on was drinking water from the tap. For the last 18 years, every time I visit my family, I have to buy them water. And you say to yourself, but water treatment plants, this is a technology that's been around, 200 years or so? South African water have been declared on many occasions in the past to be one of the cleanest water in the world. But people of Amanskraal, where we lost plus minus 31 or so people earlier this year due to cholera. And some people want to deny that it's not as a result of that. So we want to really get deep into this Edwin Sodi matter as to why in 2019 Edwin Sodi was given this contract. 40 million rands more expensive, given money in advance. Edwin Sodi had no knowledge whatsoever on water treatment plant.
Not even a vendor.
Yeah, no, it was not even on the vendors list. And our partners in Tshwane are uncooperative. And I think for that reason, they're not interested. They're happy to have this one party to have a speaker's position. So we are now, God has given us an opportunity with the ANC to remove this person so that we can have the speaker in the city of Tshwane. Also, remember you guys as a media, ActionSA was actually attacked, and I've not seen any retraction or correcting this. When ActionSA, when the mayor, Randall Williams, brought in a report to council of a 26 billion rand unsolicited bid, we said to them, we are not going to vote for this. This is an unsolicited bid. This is illegal. But obviously, Randall Williams at the time negotiated with the ANC and EFF to vote with them. And when it came to council, ANC and EFF withdrew, put him under the bus, voted against this. But strange enough, our partner accused us of not being supportive, of being disruptive, expecting us as ActionSA to vote for an unsolicited bid, targeting to one of the donor or someone to really be a part of this. ActionSA will never deliberately get involved in anything that involves corruption. Is ActionSA perfect? We are human beings. We make mistakes, but we'll never make deliberate mistakes. It is for that reason we voted against that unsolicited bid. And I know some people even in the media are taking us of being uncooperative because the DA has got the machinery to use against anyone who opposes them. And obviously, I think some South Africans have accepted them to really be the cleanest human beings you can ever come across. And fortunate, some of us are aware about these issues, and we are saying, no, this is not the South Africa we want. When corruption raises its head, be from the ANC, from the EFF, from the DA, from ActionSA, we believe very strongly that corruption must be dealt with. And that's a commitment that we can give to the people of South Africa. So from our side, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. We're grateful that the Premier of Gauteng was willing to work with us in ensuring that we can bring accountability back in Gauteng. It'll start here in Gauteng because it's not going to start in this in Government of National Unity, because we've listened already on Friday. Political parties few months ago, they were against Phala Phala, but today they are happy to defend Phala Phala at whatever cost. They say Phala Phala is not as bad as Nkandla. Phala Phala is not as bad as Nkandla. So basically what we are saying as South Africa, we are happy to accept certain crimes when they are committed by people we're not friends with. But when we are friends with you, we will defend you. ActionSA will not defend anyone. That's a commitment that we can give you. And that is what actually informed us to respect the decision of our structures to say, please, give us an opportunity. Mr. Mashaba, we are aware you did not want to talk to the ANC, but I said, this is it. And obviously they're hearing this for the for the first time today, this morning, through you, so that they understand why we had a change of mind. And I managed over the weekend to present my proposal to Senate, and Senate gave us the full go-ahead. And Saturday afternoon, we then finalized our arrangement with the Premier and some of his team in Gauteng and Johannesburg. So we're going to start with Johannesburg, put it behind us, and then from there then we'll give you details of how we're going to structure Ekurhuleni and Tshwane. It's only the kind of question of the Speaker at this point in time that we can talk about. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. Sam.